to 60, nearly 60 degrees by Monday. Today, not even a chance of rain, I guess, until Saturday. And that was supposed to be a rain-snow mix. Now looks like rain due to those warm temperatures. Right now, 34 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
1 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Heather Peterson. Our top story this hour, a 67-year-old crossing guard has died after police say he was hit by a car while he was working this morning at 1600 North and Main Street in Layton. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more from the scene.
Police say he was hit by a vehicle trying to travel north through this intersection just east of Bayview Elementary, which does have a traffic light, though they say they don't know yet what color the light was when this happened. We do know several kids and an officer actually witnessed this happen. Emergency responders did perform CPR, but the guard died here at the scene.
Police say a woman was driving the vehicle that hit the guard. She stayed at the scene and is cooperating. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Trump administration is ordering a freeze on federal aid and loan programs. The president's new White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, told reporters that it does not impact aid that goes directly to individuals.
Individual assistance, that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause.
The freeze applies mostly to foreign aid programs, government NGOs, federally funded medical research, and some other federal grants. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 145 points, the S&P up 57, and the NASDAQ up 393 points after a rough day yesterday. Coming up, the weather will be getting increasingly warm over the next couple days. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 101.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Kathy.
And Jason from Window World.
Jason, there's a window company giving huge discounts, saying it's the biggest sale ever.
And last month they were offering free labor. That just doesn't add up.
We don't play those games. At Window World, everyone gets the same low price every day.
No pressure, no games, and now we offer siding too.
Call Window World today, 801-281-8111 for 4 windows and a patio door for just $56.12.
And as Doug always said,
that's no baloney.
If you've ever experienced running out of hot water before your shower was done, or hard water spots on dishes and fixtures, I've got a deal you might be interested in. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you probably already know that a tankless water heater and a water softener solve both issues. If you've ever thought about looking into getting a tankless water heater, here's the deal I was talking about. Through the end of February, we're including a free water softener with every new tankless water heater we install. The best part of this deal might be that you never have to worry about being the last one to the shower again, or that you don't have to waste the money keeping 40 to 50 gallons of water hot 24/7. To take advantage of this deal, call Any Hour Services before the end of February. The visit's free and there's no obligation to buy. If you decide to have us install a new tankless water heater, we'll throw in the water softener for free. That's right, a free water softener when you purchase a tankless water heater. Pick up the phone and call Any Hour Services right now for all the details. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Things are just better with a partner or a friend. And when it comes to losing weight, Soda Weight Loss makes it easier than ever to let go of the weight for good.
I'd been wanting to lose weight, and I tried on my own. I'd been seeing things for soda, and so we talked to the nutritionist and loved every bit of it. You know, I couldn't be happier, honestly, with the result.
Join with a partner and only pay for one. Imagine achieving all your weight loss goals together with your partner, and you only pay for one.
I've let go 50 pounds, and I don't have the cravings that I used to have.
I would definitely recommend soda. It's because it works. I even recommended it to my daughter, and she's on her journey now.
Just go and look at the almost 9,000 Google reviews about soda weight loss. Lose the weight without injections, without medications, without hunger. Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Dave and Dujanovic.
If you're driving to work or you're driving the kids to a soccer game, we're your in-car companions.
People will come up to me and say, "Oh, I talk to you every day. You don't realize it because I'm talking at the radio, but I talk to you every day."
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
Good speeds on the freeways. We still have traffic impaired in Tooele County on SR 36 Main Street going northbound with emergency crews at the intersection and to the left and right sides. Common Spirit hospitals, clinics, and caregivers, all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with Human Kindness is here. Hello, Human Kindness. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny skies and a high of 38 degrees today, and the temperatures will just go up from there. It'll reach 46 by Friday, 56 by Sunday, and almost 60 by Monday, but we could see some showers over the weekend. Right now, it's mostly sunny and 34 degrees. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Congressional Democrats are furious this morning after the Trump administration ordered federal agencies to block disbursements of several kinds of grants and loans. President Trump's executive orders say that by 5 p.m. Eastern today, agencies must root out, quote, Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies. Welcome to Inside Sources. I'm your host, Leah Murray, alongside Rusty Cannon, and we are going to chat about this.
Yes, we are.
I'm going to tell you what, Rusty and I maybe have a different opinion on what's going on. So the thing is, if you were watching the news or paying attention to this, among the grants and loans definitely not affected are those for Social Security, Medicare, and programs like, Rusty, you kept saying to me, providing aid directly to individuals.
Yes, 2 individuals will not be affected, and we'll go through a soundbite here in a minute that clarifies that.
Yeah, so let's start with that. So let's begin with some explanation from ABC's Karen Travers.
It certainly seems that this is very far-reaching and could potentially impact trillions of dollars in government funding. There is a lot of confusion here in Washington and agencies and departments about what programs are going to be impacted by this. So just to give you a sense of what this executive order does, what the Office of Management and Budget has said is that all of these federal agencies have to stop their spending on any financial assistance programs if they might conflict with any of the executive action that President Trump has taken since he took office.
So that's going to lead to a whole host of questions. And I'll tell you, Rusty, I have questions. A number of things happening in my personal life are affected by grants. And I have a grant that's a federal grant up at Weber State University. So I'm thinking about that too. But let's listen now to the new White House press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, speaking directly about the programs caused by this pause.
This is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. Individual assistance, that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause.
You know, it was interesting. I was going to say, this was her first press conference, the new press secretary.
Right.
I think, and I thought I saw a headline, and I apologize if I get this wrong. I think she might be the youngest press secretary ever.
Right, and on her first day.
Yeah, and she did pretty good. I watched the whole hour.
No, I know. You watched it. Yeah. I kind of heard some of it in the car, and I think, obviously, she's good at her job, so she did a good job. But a little bit, how did this wording go? If the financial assistance program conflicts, if they might conflict with any of the executive action that President Trump has taken, you've got to cease that funding. That is confusing. So, Rusty, you and I will get into it in just a second, but right out of the gate, the reason why there's so many questions for the press secretary on her first day on the job is because actually that's hard to interpret. So you and I were debating, it's clear it's not Social Security. So I said, what about Medicaid, right? And off the air, you were saying, but that's individual people. And I'm like, yeah, but it disperses through the states, right? And both of us went, I don't know, right? So a little bit, there is confusion, reasonably.
Yeah, and that's reasonable to have that question. Sometimes administrations stick the landing when they roll something this big out. I don't know if that's the case just yet. This is a very bold move. There's a saying in policy is, act boldly but implement slowly is one that might apply here. They could have been a little bit more clear on what this really entails, and I think those questions will get answered. That soundbite that we listened to with Caroline Leavitt, actually later in the press conference, she was asked the same question 4 times. And she said, now, you've asked me the same question 4 times, I'm going to say it again. And she repeated what we had played there. This won't affect those individual benefits, a lot of the welfare things that, like she mentioned, and those that I think a lot of people are somewhat worried about it. But she was basically being very clear, saying this does not affect it. The other thing is, this is just a pause. They are not ending anything. If you read the actual memo from the OMB, which I did before we got on, it's a pause. By February 10th, which is in 13 days, if I look at my watch correctly, you essentially got to get your ducks in a row and get a memo to the OMB. Maybe it's not officially a memo, but they will then review all of that by February 10th, and then the pause ends after that, as far as my understanding. So
right. So
it is very temporary. It is not ending anything. It is pausing. And to this point, and we can talk about this, sunshine on these type of things, I think, is a good thing. So that you have, in any government, we see this happen in Utah with the budget, which we do quite often, is, hey, start from zero, explain why you need this. That sunshine is only a good thing when you're dealing with government budgets, to justify it. If you're getting millions of dollars in government funding, I surely would hope you'd be able to, at the drop of a hat, justify your funding need. That's reasonable to ask.
No, I agree with you to a certain extent, I think. The push for me right here is this. So you're waking up today and you are someone who's doing research on new cancer treatments, right? Or you are someone whose family member has cancer and you're like, there's this new treatment coming in and there's research and maybe we can be part of that. 2 weeks might actually do some harm, right? So I think sunlight's a really good idea. I think that we should always be, and like we were saying off the air, for the grant that I have, if the federal government came and asked me a question in 5 minutes, I could write an email to somebody, like I would be ready to go. So I agree with you. But I do think there might be a less shock and awe way of having a conversation about how we bring sunlight to these agencies than a message out from the OMB acting director that says we're going to root out Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies, which, by the way, cancer research isn't actually any of that. Yeah. So you do this huge pause on everything while doing this political jab, which seems to be more narrowly focused. I don't know, Rusty, don't you think that's a little...
Yeah,
Come on, give it to me.
I know we're on the radio, so you can't see me cringing. Those lines, if I would have written that, I would have left it out. It's a little bit, over the top in my mind. But this was an important thing that I saw, and it was surprising where it came from. This was a statement, not a statement. It was a write-up this morning from Politico that talked about this. And this, I can't remember who wrote this, but he said, but let's be clear, amidst this outrage, it's important to remember that this was all spelled out by Trump long in advance. Throughout the election campaign, he told America repeatedly that he would reshape the federal government, root out his enemies, pardon supporters who were convicted of violent crimes, slash government spending programs en masse, and axe huge numbers of federal jobs. And then he won 77 million votes to do exactly that. Those accusing Trump of being anti-democratic might note that this is largely democracy in action. I thought that was really well put.
Yeah,
it's like he told everybody this would be coming, not this specifically, but just in general. People shouldn't be surprised. However,
that doesn't make it okay.
The rollout is maybe not as smooth as possible, but in all fairness, we should have known this was coming, or at least something like this. So
no, I think that's fair. Let me ask you a question that's kind of like a legal question, Rusty, see what you think. Federal agencies have been ordered to withdraw previously published award solicitations and cancel awards already awarded that are in conflict with the administrative priority. So Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate minority leader, the leading Democrat in the Senate, basically says that by holding up these vital funds, you are disobeying the law because we already put out those grants, right? So maybe legally you might say we can only cancel things going forward, but this does feel retroactive. What say you to that?
that I think that'll be battled out in the court if it does, in the back and forth. I think we had a similar conversation, I don't know, just months ago about aid that was passed by Congress that goes to Israel that was then held by the previous administration. So is that okay? I mean, I didn't think that was okay, and they might think that this is something different. I think it's the same thing. An administration will try to push their priorities as they see fit, and this shouldn't be new news. But yes, they do have to work out the legality of it. We'll see how it goes.
Next up in Inside Sources, we're going to stay in Washington, D.C., and let's talk more controversy from today surrounding several career lawyers working for the Department of Justice who were just fired. Stay with us.
The newest part of your morning, and still so familiar.
When you wake up and listen to a radio show, it's like you're a part of a family. You're listening in on people you know, and it's magnificent that Andy Farnsworth is sitting in the chair because he's someone we know.
Utah's Morning News. Andy Farnsworth joins Amanda Dixon to bring you important news in the car. 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend, Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission. Free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Every year, tens of thousands of people get scammed. So who exactly are the crooks behind these frauds, and what would you ask them if you could? I got the chance.
Did you ever scam anybody in Utah? Did you make a lot of money? Did you ever worry about getting in trouble? Do you worry about getting in trouble now, showing your face and talking on TV? How did you get into scamming Americans? What do you think people should know who are watching this story?
Hear the answers in this exclusive interview. Secrets from a Scammer, Thursday on KSL 5 News at 10.
This Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then, browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes a new inventory every day. Then, they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. You're invited to visit the movie show this Friday from 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit npsstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. npsstore.com.
It's game time, and you're in the locker room ready to take the field. Suddenly, you notice a player you don't recognize. He's wearing your team's jersey, and he even knows your name, but you've never seen him before until now. Would you trust this stranger with your team's playbook? Because that's exactly how phishing scams work. The first quarter of 2022 saw the highest volume of phishing attacks ever recorded. Protect your business with the Les Olson Security Suite from Les Olson IT. Learn more about it at lesolson.com.
Ever drive a semi before?
I've never even driven before.
Well, step here to go, stomp on that pedal to stop. And
it's hard to do something if you don't know what you're doing.
What's the stick for?
Just wiggle it now and then to shift gears.
A Learn and Earn account from Cyprus Credit Union gives teens the resources to practice money management and develop the confidence they'll need when it's time to step out on their own. See how your teen can earn up to $200 with a Learn and Earn account at cypruscu.com. Federally insured by NCUA.
Honk if you need anything.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for University Housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. Don't miss Cold's new Season 3, where I look into the unsolved disappearance of Cherie Warren, a woman last seen leaving her job at a Salt Lake City office in 1985. Police cast suspicion on Cherie's estranged husband and boyfriend, but never made any arrests or recovered Cherie's remains. Find Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. Let's talk about trust. It's an important thing in any relationship.
Rusty, do you trust me?
I do, all the time, without question. That's why I just rolled right into this. It just didn't need to be said. Especially the relationship between lawyers. And it's a big reason why the Department of Justice officials fired several lawyers who had previously prosecuted now President Donald Trump. They said the president could not trust them. First, let's listen to ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy as he explains.
The move to fire these career prosecutors, some of whom have served for years across multiple administrations, is one of several steps in the past week that have sent shockwaves through the Justice Department. The acting U.S. attorney here in Washington has now ordered a review of hundreds of January 6th prosecutions, and key leaders across the department have been reassigned to a new task force targeting sanctuary cities. At least one of them resigned yesterday, saying he had devoted his career to the apolitical enforcement of the law.
So, Professor Lee, I want to ask you, is the Department of Justice under the purview of the president?
That is an excellent question. And oh my gosh, could I just run down a rabbit hole? The answer is that is unclear. So the bureaucracy, like the Department of Justice, is under the advise and consent clause of the United States Constitution. What that means is the president gets to nominate and the Senate gets to give advice and consent to whoever is nominated to work in those agencies. For all intents and purposes, it is under the purview of the president because he's the chief executive officer and they live in the executive branch.
Yeah.
But the question has never really been settled. I will tell you, Andrew Johnson, who is one of our presidents who was impeached, he was impeached because he fired somebody who worked in a bureaucracy. So at that time, Congress said, that's a high crime and misdemeanor for you to remove somebody because we confirmed them. You don't get to remove. So that removal power, that firing power, actually is not in the United States Constitution. There is some question whether Congress has a role to play. Like I said, for the most part, if the president doesn't want you working for him, usually people just resign, right?
Yeah,
So the answer is I'm just going to resign. But it has always been a question whether presidents get to fire people who are in offices that have been confirmed by the United States Senate.
Got it. Okay, before I make a comment, let's also listen to ABC's Alex Mallon. He covers the Justice Department. He had more on this situation.
We're facing an extraordinary situation in the Justice Department where these people were part of prosecutions that they believed could put President Trump in prison for potentially decades if they were able to get a conviction. So you do have this extraordinary moment where the incoming team is in service of a president that many of these career officials believes should not be in office, but should be behind bars. You cannot escape the fact that there is a conflict there.
You know, that's interesting. As I thought about this, in my opinion, I think the president has, I don't know if the right word is oversight, or the Department of Justice is under the president. It's in the executive branch. He's in charge of the executive branch. I don't see any reason why a president cannot decide who gets to work at the Department of Justice. Right. I don't see how that's a problem. In any organization, especially one that is set up like this, how is it wrong that the person in charge can decide who gets to work there and who they trust? It's like in any other organization, if you are, the boss, so to speak, and you do not trust an employee or someone there, that's an issue.
Right. So you'd want to roll us back, and I'm putting words right in your mouth, so get ready for it, Rusty, to an Andrew Jackson time in our history where we used patronage, right? So that argument basically said, to the victor goes the spoils. Yeah. If you win the election, you get all the jobs, right? So if I'm the president in the 1800s, every single person gets fired when I come in, and all of my friends get hired. What a lot of people said, and by 1883, we implement civil service reform because people said, that's not great governance. A little bit, Rusty. So it's like if every 4 years, 2 years, 6 years, whatever is the cycle, we are bouncing everybody in a department and bringing in all new people, that actually is very unstable. It's not great for any sector of our government, right? Like, it has an effect on markets, right? So the answer in the 1880s basically was, no, we feel like there are some jobs, and in the United States federal government, there's 3 million of them, that are about your skill set and not about whether the boss actually likes you. So your point's well taken. I do think there's a swath, does that make sense, of jobs in the United States where it would be about, does the president trust them? The president has to get good advice. To get good advice, you have to trust the people who you're working with, but not all of them, right? So you might not have been making that argument as I'm putting words in your mouth, but the answer to your question is no, as it turns out, the bureaucracy answers to the American people, not to this individual who's in office for 4 or 8 years.
Yeah, I guess the way that I think about it is Donald Trump was elected president. If you would assume that the elected officials can then make the decision as to who they think is best to work in the department. I think it's unfair to say that any presidential administration only appoints their quote-unquote friends, right? I think that's false. I think that obviously merit is a big part of it. You're putting in people that are competent or who you feel are competent. And there's nothing wrong with having those in an organization that want to drive the agenda of the president that was elected. I don't think that's a problem. And we've seen in recent years where I know people call it the deep state and that kind of thing. I'm not going down that rabbit hole, but I will say that there is I think a reasonable point to make of somebody that's there over a long career, probably has certain biases, and if they are not congruent with where the administration wants to go, I think it's perfectly fair for them to clean house like this, right? I wouldn't expect, let's say he loads up all the folks that he wants in the DOJ now, and in 4 years, a Democrat is elected president, has completely different priorities. I would not fault them for then saying, all right, you're all out. I'm bringing in my people that I want to drive my agenda.
Yeah, so let me pick on you just a little bit.
Sure.
We might remember President Ronald Reagan, who decided to fire every single air traffic controller because he was mad at them for going on strike. And then you're like, I'm going to hop on this flight tonight? Probably not. In some instances in the government, it's about expertise that is developed over time. And the people you want running the air traffic control might be people who've been there for a while. So I love your point. It's not, and thank you, it's well taken. I didn't mean to suggest I'm only putting in the air traffic controllers who are my family. Right? Like, okay, I don't mean to say that. However, if I go, it's not about who I like, but it's about who's got skills. So the Navy SEALs are the people who have skills. The air traffic controllers are the people who have skills. A little bit, I'm going to tell you what, that skill set maybe is independent of political direction. Not that I don't hear you, that accountability is important, right? And that we did elect Donald Trump, and therefore his agenda does matter. Yeah, but I'm going to push back a little bit and say maybe there are places for it. And then when we argue about these lawyers in the DOJ, I don't know if there are those places or not, right? Like, so maybe I'm with you for them and not with you for air traffic control, or, kind of would depend on who they were.
Yeah, and I think this gets back to the point I'm already forgetting. Pam Bondi, the new head of the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, that's the term I was looking for. Again, like I read before in the previous segment, this should not come as a surprise. They have talked over and over and over about ending the weaponization of the DOJ, and in my mind, this speaks to that, right? Meaning getting rid of any type of momentum that had, any weaponization. This shouldn't come as a surprise again. This is what he campaigned on, repeated over and over. I remember Pam Bondi was very vocal about this in her confirmation hearings of ending the weaponization. This shouldn't come as any surprise. I'm surprised it was such a small number of people that were fired.
I'm not surprised, but doesn't mean I think it's okay, right? Like,
right. That's fair.
So, and let me ask you a question, just to kind of one of the things we heard from earlier from Stephen Portnoy, that the acting U.S. attorney has ordered a review of hundreds of the January 6th prosecutions. Like, why are they doing that if he've already pardoned all of them?
That's a good question. It seems a bit of a water under the bridge that they've been pardoned. However, I don't think it's unhealthy to go back and look at, maybe if some of those went off the reservation as far as prosecutions. And after hearing anecdotally about a lot of them, I would agree that some sort of review would be interesting to see, because there were some, as far as I know, that very nonviolent, those types of things of, hey, I was just there being treated fairly poorly. At least that's the story that's been told. I don't think there's anything wrong with going back and reviewing that so that you don't repeat the mistakes of the past.
I got you. So that feels a little bit like our last segment when you said sunlight is always good.
Yeah, there's no problem.
Taking a look at this agency and being like, this maybe was questionable. Let's take a look at it. Okay.
Yeah, and so I think time will tell. Again, back to the point, I've repeated it a couple of times, though. A lot of this stuff, these have been forecasted as coming. I don't think it should come as a surprise. Now, it doesn't mean you have to like it, but it just means that they've talked about it before. But yeah, it's always fun to talk about this. Leah, I think we do a good job of providing different views. All right, when Inside Sources returns, we're going to come back to Utah and head up to the state capitol. A bill that has garnered a lot of attention about labor unions and collective bargaining with public employers passed a key vote in the House yesterday. Our special coverage is going to talk about that after the break.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top local story this half hour. A teenage boy has died after falling through the ice of Glassman Pond in Ogden. Police are telling us he and another boy fell through around 4:30 yesterday. The ice is thin and inherently dangerous on many of Utah's lakes and reservoirs right now. That's according to Ty Hunter with the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation.
They get next to the ice. They decide they're going to test it by throwing a rock out on it, see if that rock falls through. That rock does not weigh, does not apply the type of pressure that your body would in the given, space that it takes up as you're walking out on that ice. And so they try to walk out on the ice, and then they fall through.
Hunter tells Utah's Morning News the tragedy that happened in Ogden isn't the only case of people falling through the ice in Utah this winter. KSL's top national story from ABC News. One day before Health and Human Services nominee Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s confirmation hearings are set to begin on Capitol Hill, Caroline Kennedy penned a letter to senators calling her cousin a predator, urging senators to reject his nomination. ABC's Catherine Falders has more.
In that letter, she says that family and friends followed him down a path of drug addiction. She goes into details about various different instances. She says that he's a predator and that while she did praise him, RFK Jr., for, in her words, quote, putting himself out of illness, she also states that her cousin is addicted to attention and power.
Caroline Kennedy also read her letter on camera. Her son shared that video on X. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is up by 142 points, sitting at 44,855. The NASDAQ, the big winner today, up by 2%, up 408 points. Coming up, haze is building up. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Febreze. So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Ricky?
We do have an accident in South Salt Lake. It's at the bottom of the on-ramp to northbound I-15 at 3300 South. It's to the right. Also, the final clearing of a crash by Salt Lake City PD at 3rd West and 1500 South. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A warming trend headed our way. Today's the coolest of the week. We will be up to 59 degrees by Monday of next week. We do have a 60% chance of showers on Saturday. Right now, sunny and 36 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
A bill that would prohibit labor unions from collective bargaining with public employers cleared the state house yesterday, going forward with a vote of 42 for and 32 against. The bill does not eliminate labor unions, but just adds some clarifications when it comes to things like finances. State Representative Jordan Tusher is running the bill and joins us to clear up some misconceptions about it. Welcome to the show, Representative.
Hey, thanks, Leah. Happy to be here.
All right, Representative Tusher, Rusty here. I have a question. I'm going to try to frame this as far as I understand how the bill works, and tell me if I'm wrong. Actually, before I do that, I need to disclose. I did advocate for this type of bill, Leah, in previous sessions in my previous role. I just want to put that out there, and I will try not to let my biases show through. But, however, having that said, Representative Tusher, is this what the bill does? If my understanding, when they bargain, say the employer and the union, and they're sitting on opposite sides of the table, a literal table, as it stands now, they can only negotiate with that labor union, and that this bill makes it so that that labor union cannot be the exclusive only person on the other side of the table. Is that what this does?
That's exactly right, Rusty.
Okay.
Collective bargaining essentially is where you have a contract between the labor union and the employer, the public employer in this case, and they're the ones that hash it out on behalf of all the other employees. Now, the biggest problem that we see with that in the state of Utah is a lot of times that labor union may only represent a fraction of the employees. And so by having an exclusive collective bargaining agreement, it means there's a large percentage of those employees that just don't have a voice in the process.
Okay, so let me have one follow-up question there. So when some on this bill are saying this ends collective bargaining, I don't think that's true. Am I thinking about that wrong?
Well, the technical sense of collective bargaining, meaning that you're going to have one representative representing the employees and the employer on the other side. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't prevent the labor unions from continuing to interact with the employer, to present the priorities, to help them understand what their members' needs are, et cetera. But it wouldn't prevent the employer from asking people who aren't members of the union, what their priorities are, and to factor that in and do what's best for all employees.
All right, so Representative Tusher, this bill passed yesterday, your bill, but 19 Republicans joined all House Democrats in voting against it. Can you talk to us about why that happened, and then what does that tell you about, how well the bill does going forward?
Yeah, great question. I'll say two things. One, those that are strongly opposed to this are the labor unions. And the labor unions are very organized, right? So they can get out mass mailing campaigns and call campaigns to different legislatures. So there's a lot of pressure on the legislature for a vote like this. But I'll say, we certainly could have gotten more votes, but we want to protect people in certain seats and allow them to not have to take every single hard vote. And so I think 42 in this case was a very strong showing that there's strong support in the state.
Oh, did we lose Jordan? His sound seems to cut off. We'll try to get him back if we get him back. Let me continue. As I think, if I heard him correctly, Leah, and maybe you heard it differently, what this changes is that the labor union would not be able to be the only group that can be bargained with. And I think that's the clarification that I think is somewhat getting missed. They can still go to the bargaining table, but this changes the system to where that group cannot be the sole bargaining agent to do that. So have we got you back, Representative?
I'm here. I'm
okay.
Sorry, I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, go ahead and continue with what you were saying.
Well, what I was just saying is I've got, in my conversations with the Senate, I think we'll see similar support on that side. And, there's a lot of my colleagues that may have voted against the bill that personally have talked to me and said, I think it's the right policy. It's just, it's so hard in my district because there's so much information out around that I felt like I had to vote no.
So I'm reading an article where Anna Heath, who is a teacher, basically she was saying she feels like, that it would take away their right to advocate or their ability, maybe not right, but like the ability to advocate. Can you speak to that a little bit, Representative Tusher? Like what, clearly people are worried about it, like we've been talking about it. Can you speak to those worries?
Yeah, well, like I said before, there's nothing in the bill that changes the ability for the labor unions to continue to represent and to advocate on behalf of their members. And so I think there's just been a lot of misinformation that's been shared across the board around what really the impact of this bill would be. Now, will it maybe change that dynamic in negotiating with the employer because you aren't now the sole bargaining agent? Absolutely. But in my mind, that only helps represent all employees, not just the small group that happen to be members of the union.
Yeah, so I think, and I don't know if you heard me when I was talking when you cut off there, Representative, but as I was saying, if I understand it right, this means that, okay, they can't be the only organization at the table. Let's say, picking a random number, they only represent 30% of workers. They can't be the exclusive and only entity to be bargained with. This opens it up that if others want to also be at the table, they can. Now, would there also be the opportunity? Let's say no one else shows up and wants to bargain, then they still would be the exclusive, right? Because no one else has bothered to engage in the negotiation. Is that a fair way to put it?
Still in that case, you wouldn't have an agreement between the employer and the labor union. That's not what the agreement. The agreement will just be between the employer and the employees generally. So they can take into account everything that the union shares, their priorities, but they're going to be still negotiating with the employees. And what we find often is that group that comes on behalf of the labor union, they may have different priorities than the overall group. For example, maybe the labor union is made up of more senior members of the employees. So they care more about retirement benefits, maybe later stage career pay, that sort of thing, where your newer employees, maybe they care more about maternity benefits or starting wages and things like that. That voice is never heard because they have that exclusive right to negotiate. So again, anyone that wants to be involved in that negotiation, if the bill passed, would continue to do that. But the labor union still would have a very active role in making sure that the employer knows what the employees care about.
Yeah, so Representative Tusher, I totally hear you that the unions have feelings about this, right? Or mobilizing, opposed it. Yeah. I'm wondering if you could tell us, and maybe it's what you just said, so I don't mean to make you repeat yourself, but what was your motivation about running this bill, right? Representative, is it because you've been hearing from like younger teachers that basically all they're hearing about is retirement benefits? Like, where was your kind of reason, if you will, for moving forward with it?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And part of the bill also, we spent a lot of time talking about the collective bargaining piece. There's a number of other aspects of the bill that are real direct conversations that I've had with teachers and firefighters and police to resolve issues that they've seen. But if you go back to the committee debate, we had teachers testifying in support of the bill that said exactly what you said. They went to the union, or they went to their employer first, and they had ideas. And the employer said, I'm sorry, we have a collective bargaining agreement. I can't have this conversation with you. You need to go talk to the union, even though they weren't a union member. They go to the union, express those ideas. The union says, well, I'm sorry, I don't care what you say because you're not a member of our union. That shouldn't happen in our public employment situations.
All right, Representative Jordan Tusher, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Rusty, like we mentioned earlier, this bill had cross-party opposition in the House. So next up on Inside Sources, let's have a conversation with someone who opposed the bill to get their insights. Stay with us.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission. Free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Visit the contest page on KSLNewsRadio.com. This week, win tickets to the Utah Symphony's Bravo Broadway, February 14th to 15th at Abravanel Hall. Don't miss unforgettable show tunes from musicals like Hamilton, Wicked, Phantom, and more. Or win tickets to the Utah Boat Show and Water Sports Expo this weekend at the Mountain America Expo Center. Plus, win a shopping spree with a $100 Amazon gift card. Text the word contest to 57500 or go to KSLNewsRadio.com/contests.
Fall in love with your home comfort this season and save money too. A $29 heating system tune-up from Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric is the best way to ensure your HVAC system is operating at top efficiency. Boost your comfort and help prevent expensive breakdowns by calling the experts at Yes today for your $29 heating system tune-up. Trust the pros at Yes to keep your family comfortable. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
The biggest hunting show in the West is back, along with Utah's top 200 hunting permits for just $5 each application. It's the Western Hunting and Conservation Expo in Salt Lake City, February 13th to 16th. Visit with hundreds of guides, outfitters, and exhibitors. Book a hunt, see the latest gear, and best of all, you can apply to hunt Utah's biggest bucks and bulls for just $5 each. It's all at the Western Hunting and Conservation Expo, produced in cooperation with the Utah Office of Tourism. Get tickets and details at huntexpo.com.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time and switch to the expensive shampoo with amino acids. Sure, you don't know what those are or why you need them, but it sounds very impressive. And if you switch and save hundreds, you can massage it into your scalp every day. Now, if only you can get people to lean toward your head to smell those aminos. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time. For shampoo. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM. or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
It's the Boat Show and Water Sports Expo.
Time to buy the boat of your dreams.
January 30th through February 2nd at Mountain America Expo.
Great fun and shopping for the whole family.
The boat show is here, better climb aboard. Get your best deal and buy at the boat show.
Watch BMX 50/50 pro riders perform. Learn fly tying with fishing experts.
See hundreds of new 2025 surf boats, wake boats, ski boats, pontoons, fishing boats, houseboat shares, personal watercraft, marine accessories, trucks, and more.
Shop, compare, buy, and save on new boats and accessories.
Register to win a 5-day Alaskan fishing trip courtesy of RW Fishing.
ABC4 Utah and CW30 invite you to the most exciting boat buying event of the year, the Boat Show and Water Sports Expo, Thursday, January 30th through Sunday, February 2nd at Mountain America Expo.
Buy tickets online and save $2 at utahboatshow.com.
The boat show is here, better climb aboard.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it, and by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone. But KSL is a source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here with Leah Murray. And Leah, last segment we spoke to State Representative Jordan Tusher about his bill addressing collective bargaining with public labor unions. While the bill did get enough votes to pass the House, it received no votes from all Democrats and 19 Republicans. Obviously, a bipartisan vote there. House Minority Leader Angela Romero is one of the Democrats who voted against the bill, and she joins us to explain why. Thanks for joining us, Representative Romero.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You bet. Okay, first of all, tell us why you voted against the bill.
Well, I'm a public employee. I'm not protected by union rights because I'm in management. But I heard from a lot of my colleagues that I work with, I heard from my constituents, and they really feel that HB 267 undermines the ability of hardworking public employees to be able to collectively bargain and have those essential protections that they need.
Representative Romero, we just had a conversation in our last segment with Representative Jordan Tusher, who said that unions don't always represent everyone and are the only ones allowed at the negotiating table, and that he's heard from some public employees, teachers specifically, he mentioned, who felt like they were not being heard, that their voices were not being heard in the way that collective bargaining happens in this state right now. Can you speak to that a little bit?
You know, we all have our different spin. We all have our different opinion on who can be at the table to collective bargain. But from what I'm hearing from the general public in general, and the thousands of emails my colleagues and I received, people don't agree with HB 267. And unfortunately, it might pass. And what I always tell people, if you don't like what's going on here, then I want to see you at that, in 2 years to vote. And so I think it's easy to critique it's easy for him to say, well, there's people that don't feel like they're represented by unions. But I also know, as someone who is a public employee who's not represented by a union, I know how important a union is to make sure that they're protecting people who may not be in positions like myself in public sectors, whether it comes to their wage, whether it comes to their treatment. And a lot of people have expressed to me that they feel like this bill is going to silence their voice.
So, Representative Romero, I disclosed in the previous segment, obviously, I advocated for this type of a bill in my previous role in the last couple of years. Don't want to make that clear, but I'm obviously doing the best I can here. I did want to ask you, do you feel, so in our last segment, we talked about how this really deals with exclusivity, meaning as it stands now in collective bargaining, the contract is with one entity, and they are the only entity that can be negotiated with. If I understand the bill correctly, and I think we covered that in the last segment, this changes that to where they cannot be the exclusive negotiator. Do you feel like that's a fair way to put to explain how the bill works, or do you see it differently?
I mean, that explains how the bill works, but that doesn't mean I necessarily agree with it, or a lot of people that live in my district. And I represent a lot of working people. I represent a lot of firefighters. I represent a lot of teachers. And they really feel like this bill was payback to UEA. And so you can't separate the policy from the politics and what the perception is. And so what the perception out here is in Utah, and I hear in my district, is that unions are being targeted, and that this is not just a state bill, it's a national bill to get rid of unions and to get rid of the merit system and to get rid of a lot of the policy that we've put in place over the years to protect whether you're talking about communities of color, we saw that with DEI, whether you're talking about collective bargaining as seen from a union perspective here in the public sector. And many of my colleagues up here don't work in the public sector like I do.
Representative Romero, can you talk to us about if it is the case that the union loses its ability to collectively bargain? So I'll just kind of put aside, like Rusty is saying, that's not really what's happening. But, like there's kind of that new definition changes their kind of power in that situation. Is there anything else that unions offer? I mean, what you were just saying is they feel like it's a union, they're coming for unions. What did you just say? The unions are being targeted. But is the only thing the union does is the collective bargaining? Aren't there other things that unions do for employees? And I guess I'm just kind of wondering, if this bill passes, does that mean unions, because there's no collective bargaining power, they go away across the board, or they just have to kind of rethink, like what they do?
I think we're going to have to look at unions, and they're probably going to have to restructure somewhat. I don't know what's going to happen with this bill. I know that the good representative has been in contact with many of our union leaders, and they're having ongoing discussions to maybe make some amendments on the Senate floor. I know those conversations were supposed to happen, and they could have happened on the House floor. They didn't. I mean, if you look at that bill, it only had 42 votes. And I think that even took the majority by surprise. I think they thought they were going to have more votes on their side. So it tells you how divisive this bill is with even our chamber. I think many people thought it was just going to go through. Like, I was being told by inside sources, like, oh, this is in the bag, it's going to go through. And then when I looked at the board, I was surprised. But I think it's because the public pushed back. And so sometimes we as policymakers think we are on the right track, but we might not be in touch with the people who elect us. And so, again, that goes back to, in another 2 years, will we see people show up to the polls to say, we don't like what you did with HB 267? That's yet to be seen.
I'm glad you brought that back up. So, Leah, I wanted to give kudos to Representative Romero. This is something that has always bothered me, especially in my previous role at the Taxpayers Association. We would always plead with constituents of, please remember this in 2 years. Please remember this when they come up for re-election. And then often you get crickets when it comes around to the next election, whether it was with a school board or legislators or whatever. But Representative, I'm really glad you mentioned that obviously you might be on different sides on a particular issue, but so many times constituents just memories fade. And it's important to remind people of, hey, no matter the issue, remember, I don't want to say, keep score, but I guess I kind of am, of, hey, let's bring this issue back up in a couple of years. That's the reason we have elections, and hopefully, whatever the issue, people don't forget.
Yeah, and again, this bill, I think, again, there's a policy piece of it, and, the good representative has made his points about bringing more people to the table. But I think there are a lot of people that invest in a union because they feel like the union is going to be their voice when something happens, and they feel like they can't talk to their supervisor. They feel like they can't talk to HR. They know that there's going to be someone that has their back, and this has been a traditional way, and it has worked. And so I just personally didn't see what the problem was with the system. And so, we've been seeing legislation coming at unions since I've been up here for the past maybe 3-4 years. And so what I'm hearing from many of my constituents and many people I work with is they feel like this is kind of pushing a culture of fear, and they do have concerns, not just here at a state level, but what's happening at a national level. So it'll be interesting to see how the politics and the policy collide and how they go hand in hand in the next, I don't know how many more days we have, like 30-something more days. And it's yet to be seen. And so we're not only seeing this happen in Utah, we're seeing this happen across the country.
So, Representative Romero, we only have like a half a minute left to a minute. Can you tell us what you think happens? Just pull out your crystal ball. Given that there were fewer votes in the House from the Republicans, do you think this bill passes the Senate? Does that, clang kind of a cautionary bell?
I've been telling people this. The Utah legislature is like a roller coaster ride. Sometimes you think you're going up a hill and you're actually going down a hill. So I really don't know. I know there is ongoing conversations between union leaders and the good representative. And you can't predict. The Senate's more predictable than the House, but this year, just things I thought were going to happen aren't happening. So I don't want to make that prediction.
Representative Romero, that is a perfect description, a roller coaster right up there. Leah, I'll tell you, that is exactly true. And she can attest to this. It can change at the last minute, and I literally mean the last minute. Things happen, suspend the rules, whatever the case may be, and that happens. All right, thank you for joining us. Coming up in the second hour of Inside Sources, we're going to spend some more time on national politics, including something very interesting. Senator Elizabeth Warren agreeing with Elon Musk. We'll be back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top local story. A crossing guard was hit and killed in Layton this morning near View Elementary School. The man was 67 years old and was in a crosswalk at 1600 North of Main Street when he was hit. No kids were hurt, but police say some did witness it and are now getting help at school. The driver remained on the scene. Our top national story this hour. The White House is addressing the order to freeze any financial assistance spending if they suspect the program might conflict with President Trump's executive orders.
The White House is defending its sweeping freeze on federal funding, even as questions swirl in Washington and across the country about the implications of this move. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the pause does not impact programs that provide direct benefits to individuals, things like Social Security, Medicare, and food stamps.
It is the responsibility of this president and this administration to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars.
When pushed on the status of federal funding to programs that give assistance through states or organizations, Leavitt again insisted individual direct assistance continues. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
And taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow ending the day up 136 points, S&P 500 up by nearly a full percent, and the NASDAQ up by 2%. Way to see some warmer days. We'll check KSL weather next. KSL News Time 2:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Things are just better with a partner or a friend. And when it comes to losing weight, Soda Weight Loss makes it easier than ever to let go of the weight for good.
I'd been wanting to lose weight, and I tried on my own. I'd been seeing things for soda, and so we talked to the nutritionist and loved every bit of it. I couldn't be happier, honestly, with the result.
Join with a partner and only pay for one. Imagine achieving all your weight loss goals together with your partner, and you only pay for one.
I've let go 50 pounds, and I don't have the cravings that I used to have.
I would definitely recommend soda. It's because it works. I even recommended it to my daughter, and she's on her journey now.
Just go and look at the almost 9,000 Google reviews about soda weight loss. Lose the weight without injections, without medications, without hunger. Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Attention home buyers, want to save hundreds on your mortgage payment or buy a bigger, nicer home? Visit SaveRight.com. This is Rod with the SaveRight team at Realty Path. SaveRight, our name says it all. SaveRight real estate clients often save $300 to $600 a month on their mortgage. Life of loan savings can be over $300,000. SaveRight clients qualify for and buy bigger, nicer homes. Interest rates are around 7%. SaveRight clients can get fixed rates in the 5s. Our affiliate lender makes it all possible. You can even start with a rate in the twos. If you're buying or selling a home in Utah, save a ton of money. Hire the SaveRight team of realtors. Visit SaveRight.com for more information.
Sometimes when our furnace stops working, it's something simple we can fix ourselves, if we only knew how. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the next time your furnace stops working, before you call a company out to fix it, try this first. Go shut the furnace down and make sure your air filter is clean. Go around the house and make sure the vents are open and there's nothing blocking the return air. If it's been a while since you've changed the batteries in your thermostat, go ahead and do that too. Then go turn the furnace back on, and if it stays on, you're probably good. If it stops working again, you're probably going to want a technician to check it out. If you don't know one, Any Hour Services has a special offer for any homeowners listening. One of our HVAC technicians will diagnose and troubleshoot your furnace for only $29. Then they'll explain what they found and present you with repair options. And don't worry, our technicians service all brands. Call Any Hour Services and let them know you heard about this $29 troubleshooting special on the radio. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Ricky?
We do have crews on the scene of this vehicle fire in Davis County, northbound on I-15, approaching Parish Lane and Centerville. And we do have a right lane blocked at that vehicle fire. Right now, we do have some backups back to about 4th North area, but overall, no major delays. It is going to add an extra 5 to 10 minutes to your drive to get through the northbound area of I-15 up to Parish Lane in Centerville. Lagoon is hiring full-time year-round ride maintenance technicians and electricians with journeyman or apprentice-level experience. Apply online at lagoonpark.com/jobs. Must be 18 years of age or older to apply. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And bring on the warmer temperatures. Today's high 38, but climbing all the way to 59, nearly 20 degrees by Monday. We do have a 60% chance of showers on Saturday and a 40% chance on Sunday. Right now, 36 degrees, sunshine in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
House Republicans have been meeting in Florida for a multi-day retreat. And Rusty, my understanding is Florida in January is nice.
Oh, 75 is my guess.
If you're going to spend
I wish I was there.
January somewhere, Florida's probably the place to be.
Yes.
But they are there discussing priorities and issues for the next year. President Trump joined them yesterday, outlining a few things that he wants the House to focus on. Our own Congresswoman Celeste Malloy is there at that conference and joins us now to share some insight into what's happening. Welcome to the show, Congresswoman.
Thanks. I'm excited to be on the show, but I will say, in defense of all of us who are down here in 75 degrees and sunshine, that we did get stuck in D.C. during a polar vortex for inauguration.
That's
so
fair.
I think we've earned it.
That's fair.
Oh, I love that. Okay, point well taken, Congresswoman. I appreciate
And she's probably
that.
stuck in a convention room or a conference room all day long.
Hopefully there's some windows. All right, so my first
We
question.
did get a 20-minute break to go outside and stare at the glowing orb in the sky that we'd all forgotten what it looked like.
I love this. 20 minutes. Go look at the sun.
I've been in those meetings, yes, in warm places where you wish you could see the sun.
Yeah. All right, Congresswoman, I have a question for you just about, and tell me if I'm wrong when I'm asking this. I'm wondering what the mood is among your conference, right? I feel like we watched kind of a spicy speaker vote and a little bit of arguing over, the continuing resolution before the holiday break. Can you just tell us? Maybe it's because you're in Florida and it's beautiful there. Everyone's just in a really good mood, or can you kind of tell? Like some of those fractures we're working on healing. Like, just what is the vibe there among your conference?
The vibe is really positive. When President Trump was here last night, it was sort of like a rock concert. Everybody was cheering and yelling, and it was very positive. J.D. Vance was here today. He talked about unity and the opportunity we have and what a blessing it is to serve in these capacities. Those are all good reminders. But we also have a lot of work to get done. in a short period of time. We have until March 14th to get appropriations bills done. We have a short window on reconciliation. Both of those are really complicated, involved processes. And so there is also a lot of back and forth on, if we're going to do these big things, if we're going to ask our conference to stay united on these big things, how do we make sure everybody's heard, everybody's input is accepted? So I would say the mood is really good. Everybody's really positive, but there's also some grim determination of, we know we've got some tough weeks coming up, and we're going to have to grit our teeth and get through it.
Yeah. So along those lines, specific to tax reconciliation, I don't mean to go right into the weeds here, Leah, but let's do
on Rusty's favorite issue, Congresswoman.
One bill or two bills, right? Reconciliation. Has that been settled, or is that still up in the air?
Well, it depends on who you talk to.
Okay.
The speaker is still talking about one bill. President Trump has said he wants one bill, but then sometimes he says he doesn't care how it gets done as long as it gets done. And so that revives the debate. But we are working on one bill.
Got it. Okay. And do you think you can meet that timeline that you mentioned? Because it's tight, but it can be done. Do you have a pretty high level of confidence everybody can meet that deadline?
Yeah, I think we're going to meet the deadline. There are a lot of chairmen involved in this process. If you don't understand reconciliation, go look at my social media from last week. I made a video that explains it. But first we have to pass a budget bill, and that budget bill has instructions to the chairman. Then the chairman has to come back with bills that implement those instructions, and then all of that gets stitched back together into a reconciliation bill. So it's not a simple process. It involves a lot of people. There are a lot of moving parts. What the leadership has done really well is get people involved early and hear what their thoughts are, what their concerns are. So hopefully all of that's happening now and not at the end when we have all the bills stitched together.
Yeah, Congresswoman, I love your request that we go watch your social media to watch that video, because I'm going to tell you what, but I loved it. But I was going to say to you, I saw that you had a picture of people skating on the mall, and I was thinking how lovely she's showing, the human side of our Capitol, but I should also watch the videos where I learn things. So I will make sure to do that.
Yeah. You got to get a good mix of both.
That's
a little
right.
Sweet, a little salty.
Oh, I love that. That's right. So I was thinking about something you just said earlier to Rusty about President Trump. And you kind of said he says he wants one bill, but then maybe he kind of changes. One of the things I was reading in an article from The Hill was saying that he was urging for the unity, right? So you were talking about making sure we're unified. Vice President Vance was there today saying the same thing, but a little neutral on strategy, right? And I thought that kind of echoed what you just said. Does that help? Because you're right. Like, you've got weeks of really hard work. Everyone's got to stay together. And if he's kind of neutral on strategy, I don't know, does that make it easier for you all to do your job or a little bit harder?
I actually think it makes it easier. So we do have 3 separate branches. And when we have a trifecta, it's really easy to forget that. In fact, people in Utah say things to me a lot about, Trump said you guys should do it this way. But we are a separate branch. We're the legislative branch, and we're supposed to be a check on the executive branch. So when we have a trifecta, when we control the House, the White House, and the Senate, it's really helpful if the president outlines the goals and we figure out how to get there. If he outlines the goals and tells us how to get there, then people in the legislative branch start to chafe at having the executive branch tell us what to do. That's not the way it's supposed to work. So I think he's actually being pretty smart about it. But also fundamentally, Trump is a big picture guy. He knows what outcome he wants. I think he really is actually indifferent a lot of times to the process, with this exception. He really doesn't want right now to see Republicans blocking the implementation of what we all ran on and won on. So we've got to get the border under control. We've got to spend less. We've got to take on inflation. We've got to renew the tax cuts. Those are things we all ran on. And I do think he's going to care a lot about the process if Republican infighting keeps us from getting those things done that we promised the American people.
Okay, so along those lines of Republican infighting, the SALT deduction. I don't mean to get too technical, but the state and local. I have seen congressmen and women on both sides of the Republican Party testify for and against that issue in the last week.
Yeah.
So does that ruin the mood in the room when you guys bring that up, or can everybody get in some agreement on the SALT deduction?
No, Rusty, this is the United States House of Representatives. Family fights are what we do. It's what we're good at. Fun fact about SALT that the speaker likes to point out, there is no SALT caucus on the Senate side. All of the Republican senators represent red states. Red states are generally not in favor of the SALT deduction.
Good point.
In the House, we have a lot of Republicans in blue states who are vulnerable, and SALT really matters to them. So this is something we're going to have to figure out on the House side.
Got it.
So, Congresswoman, I love how you just said that. I think you described the president so accurately, right? It's about the big picture. It's about big goals, not really about, what did you say, indifferent to the process, right? Like it's about that big picture.
Yeah.
What for you then, kind of going forward, is there one of these big goals that you think in the last, Rusty just pointed out the clock, like half a minute, so quick answer, I apologize. Is there one of his big goals you think will be the hardest to get through that you're interested in working on? Just pick one and talk about it.
Yeah, I think the one that'll take the most prolonged attention will be rolling back a lot of this bureaucracy, government overreach, red tape. It's not like the border where you can set 5 goals, do most of them with an executive order, follow them up with legislation and be done. It's going to take a lot of people staying focused for a long time, and that's what I do best. And those are the things I care about the most. So we're going to get some of the big wins quickly, and then some of them are going to take a lot of time, and I'm going to be involved in that.
All right, Congresswoman Celeste Malloy, thank you so much for taking a break from your beautiful Florida
Go back to the
retreat.
conference room.
Go back to the conference room and joining us this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, coming up on Inside Sources, Rusty, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and Elon Musk on the same page. I know you're shocked. It's true. We'll talk about it after these messages.
Join the smartest conversation in Utah, the team of analysts and political advisors that make up Inside Sources. Get unfiltered analysis of the new administration, the president's cabinet, and Utah's upcoming legislative session. Inside Sources, weekdays from 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
Do you snore at night? You could be suffering from sleep apnea, a serious medical condition. Be one of the first 25 people to call Sound Sleep Medical and receive a free sleep consultation, normally a $200 value. Sound Sleep Medical uses a custom-fitted oral appliance instead of a cumbersome CPAP machine to treat sleep apnea. Most insurance companies and Medicare cover oral appliance therapy. To learn more, call 801-285-9731 or visit soundsleepmedical.com.
Isn't it wonderful when you find a place that is just right for you, your family, and your friends? You feel comfortable there. You've never had a bad experience. You're always thoroughly pleased. That is the perfect description for me, my friends, my family of Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Both locations, Hotel Park City, and of course right in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City at 275 Southwest Temple. From the moment you walk through the door, you just feel that ambiance is perfect. And when you're seated and you're introduced to your server, they take care of you from the very moment you sit down to the moment you ask for the to-go box so you can enjoy the leftovers at home. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. The steaks are prepared perfectly. The seafood is beyond compare. And of course, poultry dishes and so much more. The desserts, the side dishes. And don't forget, Valentine's is coming up. Perfect time right now. Do it. Make your reservations at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission. Free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Old Spice Swagger Body Wash will make you the MVP of freshness and confidence. With its irresistible scent, it will transform your shower experience, leaving you feeling fresh on and off the field. Pair it with Old Spice Swagger Deodorant, the #1 aluminum-free brand that keeps you feeling like a Super Bowl champion 24/7 when used daily. But don't wait. This dynamic duo is available at Costco for a limited time only. Old Spice, official deodorant partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 59, where freshness meets football greatness.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here with Leah Murray. Leah, I don't know if we had this on our political bingo card for 2025. Senator Elizabeth Warren is now on the same side of an issue, any issue would be surprising, with President Trump and Elon Musk. Now, here's the additional thing. She wrote an op-ed in, wait for it, foxnews.com. I never thought I would say.
And they published it.
And they published it.
Right, so
yes.
can we just pause there before we get to the content of the op-ed? For the record, this is how it should be.
Yeah,
right?
You're right.
So Fox News should publish things that Democrats write, and Democrats should be willing to go talk to Fox News. Yeah. And probably MSNBC should publish things that Republicans write, and Republicans should be willing to go talk to MSNBC. This is actually excellent for our republic.
Yes.
Modeling good civil discourse.
That's right. Nobody needs to get fired from the New York Times when they publish an article by Tom Cotton.
That's right.
That's tongue in cheek. So the devil, of course, is in the details. And she wrote, and I will say this pains me to say this.
By the way, another thing that wasn't on my 2025 political bingo card was Rusty Cannon thinking something Senator Elizabeth Warren says it's a good idea.
Yeah, I never thought, but here we go. A couple of the things she mentioned in her op-ed, actually, I totally understand, and it makes sense. She is basically saying that, okay, you guys want to cut all of this spending, $1 trillion to $3 trillion, what have you. She goes down the road, first of all, which I just was saying, well, Republicans in Congress, they want to cut Social Security, and as much as they scream into the wind and say, no, we don't, there's that accusation. But she moves past that, talks about she has 30 different proposals, but in this op-ed she just mentions a few. And the first one she mentions, I totally agree with, negotiating better contracts for the Department of Defense. In 2023, the Department of Defense spent $440 billion, with a B, on contracts. And I can guarantee you she is totally right. There is a ton of waste in defense spending.
So
Absolutely.
Right there, the specific examples, because by the way, we always talk about this like the narrative is the defense pays $1 billion for like a hammer, right? Yeah. But you're like, maybe that's just noise. But she says the Air Force pays, and there's a citation, so like she's proven it, over 7,500% more on soap dispensers. The Army pays $71 for pins that should cost less than a nickel. So it's not like that old hammer thing. She actually can point to in the budget, we spent this much money on soap dispensers, and no normal human should ever spend that amount of money.
Yeah. So it's funny. I was actually in a ski gondola a couple of weeks ago talking with somebody that works, and this is odd that this is coming together, worked in defense spending, and he actually was making the case of how broken that system is. He was talking about this very issue, and he was basically making her point. So She's got it right there. Taxpayers are also, as she says, quote, getting swindled by for-profit health insurance companies. So she's talking about rooting out what she calls dirty tactics within the health insurance industry that could save, $1 trillion over 10 years, as she claims, without cutting Medicare benefits. She will ride this down the road of single-payer health care, which I totally disagree with. But I get her point there. Get rid of this kind of abuse and waste in the health insurance or Medicare world. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I also thought it was interesting. In this op-ed, she says, I've partnered with Republican Josh Hawley. So again, knock me over with a feather.
Yep, didn't think we'd hear
Elizabeth
that.
Warren and Josh Hawley are together to claw back billions more from corporations that are cheating the government on health care costs. So can I ask you a question? So we both read this op-ed, and all of you should read it if you haven't. Going back up to the top of it, she says, after promising his Department of Government Efficiency would cut $2 trillion in government waste, that Musk's ambition is shrinking, that he cut his goal in half to $1 trillion. And she's basically like, don't fold. No, don't fold. Let's keep crunching. Let's get rid of the $2 trillion. Do you think she's reading Musk accurately? Does that make sense? Have you been hearing that he was kind of reducing where he thought he would, his expectations to become more efficient?
I guess possibly. Maybe he's getting into the details and realizing that's a more realistic figure. But do we care at $1 trillion or $2 trillion? It's still a whole lot of money in the sense I think that's maybe tripping over nickels, over dollars. The part where I thought she went off the reservation here, where she talks about, let's improve our position by, again, this is the line they keep using, making millionaires and billionaires pay their fair share. Without getting into specifics, she brings up one loophole there, but they often use this line, and this is what frustrates me. There is plenty of documentation. In fact, I have a slide deck on my laptop to show you what a nerd I am, but it's from the previous work I used to do to show that if you took all the money from every billionaire in the United States, it wouldn't even come close to even making a crack or a dent in what they want to spend money on. It literally wouldn't help, wouldn't move the needle. But they always run down this road. So that's where she lost me in this when she went down that road. However, as I said, I never thought I'd say this. There were a couple of good points here from Elizabeth Warren in the op-ed.
Yeah, I think a little bit it's grabbing of the energy. So one of the things I think is so interesting about President Trump, and I think makes my Republican friends feel a little like twitchy, is President Trump really has captured the populist imagination, right? So he is very much kind of making the Republican Party the party of the working class, the party of people who, by the way, might not mind if millionaires and billionaires pay more, Rusty, because we're never going to be a millionaire or a billionaire, right? So a little bit, take it. Even if it doesn't hurt or harm, maybe it doesn't, even if it doesn't help, maybe it doesn't hurt. Anyway, but what she does here is kind of position herself, and maybe it's a new way forward for the Democratic Party. So I think a big conversation we could have is this new messaging where Democrats kind of understand, no, like the mood of the country is a pretty populist mood. It is not an elite mood. I think Donald Trump very kind of accused, and it landed, that Kamala Harris was with the elite a lot more than she was with the average American person. So here she's saying, I've got a list of cuts. I've got loophole closers, saves $2 trillion. Where's the Doge product? Why give up quickly? That's the Democrats maybe coming back in and going, no, we have something to offer this populist mood as well.
I would not fault them for going down that road. I think it's a road they completely missed going down in the last election. And I think we saw that, bear out as we talked about on our shows over the summer and into the fall. The whole story with the team, I think it was the Teamsters Union,
right.
Them actually not endorsing and their membership actually endorsing Trump by vote. But then, that whole story. I listened to a fascinating podcast, I think it was after the election, with the Teamsters Union president, where he went through the whole story. I mean, it's a colorful interview, but he made some points where I thought, I can't believe I'm hearing this, where he just really ripped into the Democrat Party for completely losing touch with the members of his union. He's like, they are not in our camp. It's obvious, and that's why you see. And I was surprised at how pointed he was. So it's not surprising to me to see someone like Elizabeth Warren or anybody in the Democrat Party moving back into that or trying to regain some of that ground that I think they've lost. And I think You couldn't fault them for doing that. This also changes the dynamic in the Republican Party. This has never been the case, at least in my lifetime, where we're talking about union type of support in the Republican. At least I can't remember a time when that's been the case, and it's just interesting to see this change that President Trump has brought about, especially in this last election. And now it's almost like the kind of both parties are fighting over having that constituency in their camp, and it'll be interesting to see if the Democrat Party as a whole shifts back into that lane. I haven't seen it. This is the first iteration that I've seen. And coming from her, again, an op-ed on FoxNews.com by Senator Elizabeth Warren.
I mean, the other thing I thought was interesting, too, also in this op-ed, she says, President Trump has voiced support for another one of my proposals to cut wasteful spending. She talks about Medicare price negotiations. I am not sure 8 years ago that any Democrat would cite President Trump. I feel that in his first term, Democrats were very much pretending he wasn't there or that he didn't exist. So a little bit, doesn't it much more normalized political conversation? So instead of saying he is anti-democracy or he is the worst thing that's ever happened, which is basically the Biden-Harris kind of message of the last 4 years, here you've got Warren going, yeah, he agrees with my position, so we should do it. Like that, I think, maybe is a harbinger for good things to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's smart of her. He won every single swing state, and you could argue he has a mandate. It shouldn't be surprising to see people shift the way they're trimming their sails to catch that wind at all. Shouldn't be surprising. So, all right, next on KSL, we are going to talk about in our next segment, going back to state politics. We're going to dive back into proposed legislation dealing with higher education. This has been a big debate on the Hill. We're going to talk about it next.
Good afternoon, 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan, KSL's top local story this hour. Governor Cox says by the 2034 Olympic Games, Utah will be transporting people vertically. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla reporting.
Governor Cox met with Beta Technologies and 47G to show his support for air taxis. He signed a memorandum of understanding, pledging to work with the companies to get the vertical transportation going over the next 10 years. The tech companies and the governor's Office of Economic Opportunity say the transportation system will provide cost-effective mobility, shorter commute times, increased access for communities across the state, and improved air quality with clean energy solutions.
They're working in close quarters with UDOT and the Utah Inland Port Authority. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, JFK's daughter has sent a letter to senators. Caroline Kennedy calling her cousin Robert F. Kennedy Jr. a predator. She asked senators to reject his nomination for health secretary. ABC's Catherine Falders has more.
In that letter, she says that family and friends followed him down a path of drug addiction. She goes into details about various different instances. She says that he's a predator and that while she did praise him, RFK Jr., for, in her words, quote, putting himself out of illness, she also states that her cousin is addicted to attention and power.
Caroline Kennedy also read her letter on camera. Her son shared the video on X. Your money at this moment, the NASDAQ made back more than half of yesterday's losses. And coming up, more haze, more heat. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 2:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Are you in search of a fulfilling career where you can work on a team that provides you room to grow, learn, and thrive every day? Focus Engineering and Surveying is looking for individuals to join their team who take pride in the customer service they provide and have a passion for their clients to be successful. No experience in engineering, CAD design, or surveying? No problem. Focus will train those who fit their team culture for rewarding careers in surveying and CAD design. If you can align with the core ideology and the Focus team culture, if you're internally driven, team-oriented, client-focused, and love personal development and growth, Focus Engineering and Surveying is the place for you. Enjoy a positive work environment and paid internship opportunities, plus fantastic benefits like great health care with 80% employer-paid premium and HSA matched up to $200 per month, 401k, vacation, even annual performance bonuses. Start your journey towards your new and fulfilling career. Apply now at FocusUtah.com. That's FocusUtah.com.
Did you know
The Social Security Trust Fund is projected to run out of money in less than 10 years. Yes, 10 years. And according to Barron's, this could cost the average couple $16,500 every year in lost income. Now multiply that by 10 or 20 years, and it could easily add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's why it's critical you have the right strategy to file for Social Security. Learn more in a free report, your guide to filing for Social Security in 2025 and beyond. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000 and have not filed for Social Security, get your free report now by calling 801-251-1046. 801-251-1046. That number again, 801-251-1046.
Boss Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Right now at Wendy's, get 2 of these fave items for just $7. The spicier classic chicken sandwich, Dave's single, or 10-piece nugs. It's an incredible deal, but an insanely difficult choice. Do you go double chicky sando, both spicy and classic, 1 beefy and 1 chicky? Or maybe you go all in on one and go Nug Max. 2 faves for just $7? Gotta be Wendy's.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time only. Select a request 2 for $7 deal to redeem. Not valid in a combo or with saucy nugs. Single item at regular price. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's limited time balance transfer bonus. Here's Ricky Meese.
The vehicle fire and the delays on northbound I-15 in Centerville for Davis County drivers have cleared. However, we do have a new accident. This is in Tooele County at I-80 and the 201 junction. You'll see that it's out of traffic on the shoulder. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL weather forecast, a weird one. Temperatures get warmer every day through next Monday, when we're going to flirt with 60 degrees right now. 36 in Salt Lake City. I'm Jeff Kaplan from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Our special half-hour deep dive into higher education legislation on Utah's Capitol Hill begins now, Rusty. Several Republican lawmakers are joining their Democratic colleagues coming out against budget cuts for Utah's public colleges and universities, saying they are worried the cuts will result in the discontinuation of liberal arts programs more than other programs. So I want to just pause right here and remind everyone who's here in this conversation with us right now that I'm like KSL's resident political science professor. I work up at Weber State University, so I do have feelings about higher education. I'm alongside my good friend Rusty Cannon, who maybe also has feelings about higher ed.
I do have feelings. How did you guess?
Shocker, we might disagree and agree a little bit. So,
Yeah, we might.
Before we jump into it, let's see. My degree is in political science, which is a classic. I always tell my students, we go back to Aristotle, right? So this is a classic liberal arts degree. What was your college degree in?
I got a BA, or a Bachelor of Arts, in finance. So I actually
that does
started.
not go back to Aristotle.
No, it does not. And I actually started as an engineering. This is a funny side note. As an engineering degree, I think I got into my second calculus class, and when I thought I just couldn't literally understand a thing, I'm like, I think I'm in the wrong program. And I actually moved, and when I got into finance, I was like, oh, I love this business and finance and all that stuff, the way it works. So that's a long explanation.
No, but I love that because, like, basically the math and calculus for engineering is a lot harder than the math for finance.
Yeah.
Right? Like, a little bit, that arithmetic's a little easier to do. Right? Okay. So we are, and maybe it's funny that I have the classic liberal arts degree and you have a degree that's more kind of practitioner in nature, right? Finance, business degrees.
Yeah, but it was a BA. So to the point of what we wanted to talk about in this segment is that I did have to go through, what would you call them, general ed
General
type
education.
and I remember those classes. I think I took anthropology, sociology class. I'm getting old and I can't remember, but those classes I remember them. And I think the debate that we're going to talk about that happened in committee a little bit was that's still important, right? And that's what somebody had mentioned.
Right. So this is where I was picking on you. So a handful of state lawmakers are saying that we should cut $60 million from the state's 8 public colleges and universities to focus on workforce placement.
Yeah.
So what I was saying was, when you are thinking about a classic degree like finance, that feels like I could place you somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like finance is a degree that would land a job. If I have a degree in political science, it's not quite as obvious.
No.
Right? Like, so I've got political science students, former students who are lobbyists, working in banking, are journalists, working in real estate. Like, that's a liberal arts degree that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Snowballs out to a whole host of possible jobs, right? And sometimes it's easy to look at a university and say, what we need are engineers. Not Rusty because he can't do calculus.
That's
Or
right.
what we need are finance people because every business needs a finance person. Or what we need are nurses. Or what we need are teachers. So you kind of look at like the workforce and you go, this is what we need. So we only want to spend money on the programs that do that. The thing is, and this was one of my favorite points of this committee hearing, Senator John Johnson from North Ogden arguing that a university degree should be about more than just job preparation. It should be about teaching students how to think critically. So right there, what you said, the courses you couldn't remember, right?
Yeah.
Like the sociology, the anthropology.
Obviously, I learned a lot there.
Yeah, those are the general.
I mean, they were good classes.
No, I got you. Those are the general education classes that, like Senator Johnson talks about, it's what we have to understand what it takes to build a thinking individual that is going to have a lifelong impact. So that right there, what the general education does for you is, Rusty, you're an excellent human being. I would love to be a neighbor of yours. I would love to serve on any community committee. We could build a playground together. We would have an excellent time. And hopefully you feel the same about me.
I do.
And part of it is because of that general education, because I also took an anthropology class that I really don't remember very much about. But, right, so that the worry that we have is if we cut the liberal arts and we cut that general education, that maybe we're going to do some damage to our citizens in this state, right? And the ability that they have to be the neighbors we want to live near and have lifelong impact that is all to the good. And it's like a different value than just, can they get a job immediately post-college?
Yeah, so one quote that was coming out from a Democrat senator up on the Hill, she said, quote, "The rumblings I'm hearing is we're cutting all our social sciences and arts," unquote. I think that's totally false. That is not what's going to happen.
Plus, what is totally false? Like the rumbling she's hearing?
Yeah, they're not going to cut, quote, all social sciences and arts. What they're trying to do, and this gets back to the other point that I wanted to make as far as the budget. $60 million is not a big amount when it comes to higher education. It is. I don't know if it's 10% of their budget or 5% or something like that. It is completely reasonable to ask for trimming to happen to that magnitude. We're not talking about gutting higher education. It is, and if you look at where their funding was just a few years ago, we're not even lowering it back to where it was a few years ago. They're still getting increases in funding over year. I'm putting my taxpayer hat back on, but that's what gets me so frustrated. This is not the end of the world for them. This is simply, it could have been way worse. It could have been hundreds of millions that they needed to cut. That's where it started, but then it's been watered down a little bit. So just pushing back a little bit there. I think what they're talking about, if I understand the speaker correctly, is taking duplicative programs and maybe narrowing it down to where maybe if there's, and maybe you can explain it better working at a university, that those duplicative programs are weeded out so where there's a little bit more efficiency within the system. At least that's my understanding.
Right. I love how you just said that because I'm going to pick on you just a little bit again. I'm sorry, Rusty, but you gave it to me. I was having a conversation yesterday with a colleague of mine who's a math professor because the engineering program thinks their calculus is too hard for the engineers. And the engineering program wants to like run their own calculus. And the answer kind of is, we probably don't need 2 Calculus 2 classes, right?
Yeah.
So we need to figure out better how to teach that math in such a way that maybe the engineers get it a little better. And I do apologize. Maybe I'm not citing him exactly correctly, but your point's well taken right there. But I would argue it's both and, right, Rusty? We can do better to be more efficient. We absolutely should do better looking at our programs and making sure that we are not so duplicative that we've got math, calculus 2 in like 5 different places at a campus. But on the other hand, we should have liberal arts programs that aren't always obvious to young people why they have to take them. So that anthropology class, man, I wasn't, that was not a class I wanted to take. But sometimes now in like a Trivial Pursuit game, I know it. Or maybe it gave me some broader understanding. Like you are sowing seeds that you reap maybe 20, 30 years later, right? That obvious like instant impact is not always necessarily true. What Senator Johnson says is absolutely accurate. It is a lifelong impact that we are talking about. I want both, right, Rusty? So I want both efficiency, but not at the expense of there are classes you should take that don't obviously make sense today why I'm taking it, but 20, 30 years from now I'll be like, oh, that was a thing where I figured out, right, like how to be the best version of myself over my lifetime that I can be.
Yeah, and I think harkening back to what Senator Johnson said, I think he kind of said this is we want people to learn to think. I think I think we would all agree we want people to come out and be able to think. I think what the pushback has been is the perception of higher education is that some students are being told, while I'm teaching you to think, what you're thinking is wrong, and therefore getting pushback or being afraid to cover certain subjects and all. And I think if you get back to that whole mission of let's teach them how to think, and then they will be great folks to hire when they graduate.
Yeah, and great folks to be neighbors with.
That's right.
That's right. I want it to be about work, but also about the humans that we interact with on the daily. All right, in our final segment, we're going to stay with this topic. We're going to continue our deep dive into higher education legislation. We're going to chat with State Representative Karen Peterson about a few of her bills on the subject. Stay with us.
Things are just better with a partner or a friend. And when it comes to losing weight, Soda Weight Loss makes it easier than ever to let go of the weight for good.
I'd been wanting to lose weight, and I tried on my own. I'd been seeing things for soda, and so we talked to the nutritionist and loved every bit of it. I couldn't be happier, honestly, with the result.
Join with a partner and only pay for one. Imagine achieving all your weight loss goals together with your partner, and you only pay for one.
I've let go 50 pounds, and I don't have the cravings that I used to have.
I would definitely recommend soda. It's because it works. I even recommended it to my daughter, and she's on her journey now.
Just go and look at the almost 9,000 Google reviews about soda weight loss. Lose the weight without injections, without medications, without hunger. Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
April breeze, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be...
Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
If you love designer brands and you love clearance, then you're going to love this. Macy's is having a huge designer clearance event right now with incredible new designer markdowns on cold weather styles from BCBG, Hugo Boss, Michael Kors, and more. How big are the markdowns? How about Coach boots for $200 or less? So if you're looking for the things you love all in one place, come in and shop the designer clearance event at Macy's today. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Purchase a new heating and cooling system from Yes Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Electric, and we'll buy back your old inefficient HVAC system. Save up to $4,500 through tax credits and other discounts when you upgrade to a new energy-efficient HVAC system. Yes offers expert technicians, flexible payment options, and our exceptional service guarantee, ensuring your peace of mind. Request your complimentary consultation from Yes today. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
Where can you kick off the new year with big savings on gig speed? Only with Xfinity, now through January 30th. Get gig internet at home for $25 a month for 1 year when you add an unlimited mobile line, which connects you to gig speed Wi-Fi on the road. Act fast today and save more than $650 over AT&T and Verizon in your first year. Plus, hurry and take advantage because right now you can also get a free 5G phone with trade-in. So save big and stay connected to what you love with fast gig speed internet and mobile. From home to hotspots, this new year, it's all about gig speeds and big savings. Don't wait and get gig speed internet. Spend less green and switch to Xfinity. Go to Xfinity.com/gig savings to learn more. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. $40 internet discount applied to mobile bill. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon Fiber Gig Plus 1 Unlimited Welcome Line and AT&T Fiber Gig Plus 1 Unlimited Starter Line. Xfinity internet required. Reduced speeds after 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual savings vary.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host Rusty Cannon here with Leah Murray. Leah, we have had a great show. We're going to continue our special coverage in this segment of higher education-related legislation that's being discussed heavily on Utah's Capitol Hill. In this segment, we're going to get into some specific details on some specific bills with State Representative Karen Peterson. Representative, thanks for joining us.
Yes, happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
It is so fun to have you here. So, for those that don't know, Representative Karen Peterson, she is the expert on higher education. She actually chairs the Higher Education Appropriations Committee. I'm correct still, right? Representative Peterson?
That's correct, yes.
All right. So there's been a lot of talk. We covered it a little bit in the last segment, and Lee and I debated back and forth kind of, our different thoughts on why this might be happening. But
Representative Peterson, I was right and Rusty was wrong.
Hey, hold on a second. That is not how the discussion
Actually,
went.
I totally believe that. I know Leah.
Oh man, I'm checking out.
And
Okay.
I know Rusty, so.
So tell the listener just specifically specifically HB 265. This is the bill that I believe is going to implement kind of what the Speaker and the Senate President have been talking about. Give us the details on what the bill actually does.
Yeah, happy to talk about that. So House Bill 265, which is out in public, if people would like to go take a look, they're welcome to do that. This bill is the bill that talks about how we're going to do a strategic reinvestment in higher education. So it is not a cut, as you may have heard. Instead, it is a process by which our higher education institutions can think about how they can expand high impact and high demand programs for students and reallocate some of the resources that they have going other places that maybe are not quite as beneficial to students, to ensure that students really can come to our higher education institutions, get a degree that's meaningful, and have economic opportunities for themselves and their families.
Representative Peterson, in our last segment, we were talking about Senator John Johnson's worries, right? So we were kind of reacting to some of the things that were being said in the committee over in the Senate. So we laid that out for our listeners in the last segment, but just the short Cliff's notes of it was that he was worried that we were cutting liberal arts, right? Like the programs, disciplines, if you will, that help people learn how to think. Can you speak to what his worries were? Just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So I do think that sometimes people jump to a concern that this is a cut of the humanities or the arts, but it's absolutely not. We want it both ways. we want both education programs that align with economic opportunities, but also there is a value, just an intrinsic value in a bachelor's degree in the broad range of experience that it gives students, in the opportunities for them to take classes in the English, in humanities, in history, understanding who we are, and in civilizations. That's incredibly important, and that's an intrinsic part of a bachelor's degree. So our intention here is not to take away from the value of higher education to our communities and to our society, but instead think about we have 750 programs in higher education. It's a lot of programs, and some of them have been graduating less than 3 students. Some haven't even graduated a student in the last year. I think that's a real opportunity for us to look at those programs and say, okay, is this the best use of our resources? If students are passionate about these things, is there a closely aligned program that has more students that we can have be more robust for them to participate in, and also not duplicate efforts or overly expend state dollars?
Okay, Representative, I wanted to go back to something you said a minute ago. This is not a cut, and I'm putting my numbers nerd hat back on. I'm glad you mentioned that. Can you explain once again to everybody why this is not a cut? Because it's being portrayed as such, and I agree with you.
So
I don't believe it is.
What we've actually done is we set a target based on 10% of each institution's instructional line, not their whole budget, but just their instructional line. And in that target, then each institution will look within their own budget. They'll look at administrative costs. We've had administrative costs go up at some of our institutions over 75%. And we need that drives up tuition, that drives up costs for the state. So we want them to look at administrative costs, and then we want them to look at programs. And then we want them to come back to us and say, we're going to reallocate those funds that we were spending over here and move them to programs that have waiting lists, programs that have capacity issues, new programs that we need, maybe emerging technologies that we need our students to know about. And then they'll have those funds to reinvest at their institution. So the money is still earmarked for their schools. It is still available to them, but they will need to go through this process so that we're ensuring that every dollar really counts.
I'm going to ask you now. I'm just going to remind everyone. Representative Peterson knows this, but I work for higher education. So as we talk about this, right? And so this question, Rusty and Representative Peterson, will make you smile. But a little bit, do you trust us to look at ourselves and make these choices? So I'm smiling as I say that, but kind of probably the reason we got into the situation we're in with, what did you say, 750 programs might be because we, believe strongly in what we're doing and we're kind of growing. Not that I'm picking on you to say, is this the best way to do that? But I'm just kind of wondering, how will you make sure that we do a good job looking at ourselves to align with what you were talking about?
Right. And so we have built in some accountability into the bill. So it'll go through almost a 3-check process. So the institution presidents will create their budget. You'll have Brad Mortensen working hard on your campus to figure out what this looks like for Weber State. He'll have some guidance that will be set by the State Higher Education Board. They'll take the first run at those plans and proposals and give some feedback. Then they'll come before the Higher Education Appropriations Committee in August. And then for the funds to be released back for the institution to implement their plan, they will have to be approved by the Executive Appropriations Committee at the legislature. So there will be a few checks, a few opportunities for us to all make sure we're on the same page and that we're working towards those same goals.
Representative, I was curious, you gave the statistic, 750 programs. Some had graduated no students or as little as 3 students. I'm curious, out of the 700, go ahead.
So I was going to say, and they're not bad programs. Some of them are things like geography. We just don't have a lot of students at some schools going into geography. At other schools, we do have a lot of students going into geography. So it's not that these are bad programs. It's that they maybe just don't necessarily align with student interests right now or industry needs.
Got it. Okay. And so I was curious, and I think you probably answered it. Of the 750, how many programs are in that bucket of 0 to 3 students graduating?
Yeah, I don't have the exact number on hand, and they do fluctuate. And sometimes they're new programs, so maybe there's a reason they're not graduating a lot of students yet. But so I don't have an exact number for you.
Yeah, and I think what I hear you saying, Representative Peterson, is it's possible, so we'll just pick on geography because you pulled that one out, that maybe it's flourishing at one university, but not at another, right? So what I hear you saying is like the changes will not be uniform across our whole system, right? Like, so some universities will keep some programs, some might lose, right? And just being thoughtful about that across the board.
Exactly.
And I also wanted to ask you, you used the language of right now, right? So you just earlier said, I don't know, I'll just keep picking on geography. I'm sorry, but like, so geography right now, maybe there's not an interest. Does that mean, do you think it's dynamic, right? So like maybe universities will look internally and say, these are the issues. They go through the 3-check process, but maybe in 5 years there is an increasing demand, right, for a geography program, and then we are revisiting. Do you see this as being iterative over time, like this is going on always?
So part of the bill is that we want to create this program review to be regular and systemic, so that we're not doing this one-off exercise periodically, and we have institutions building up programs that, you know, maybe we don't need or that we do need or that duplicate other programs. And so we really want to think about our institutions as a system, and we want to think about what programs we're creating, and we want to do these reviews more regularly. So the bill will call for all programs to be reviewed every 5 years. Just so we can make sure we keep having these conversations about the changing economy, the changing student interest, and the changing demands of the workforce.
Well, Representative Karen Peterson, thank you for joining us on the show. That was a great explanation. I think everybody's going to have a greater understanding of really what's going on up there. And I think I can say this was a segment where Rusty was right and Leah was wrong, right?
Absolutely not. Okay. Representative Peterson, you tell him who was right.
But it's been great to have you here again. Thank you so much. Leah, it's been fun, hosting with you today. I think we've covered a lot of different issues. It's interesting to see the dynamic going on up there on the Hill as it unfolds.
Rusty, just like pause for a second, because we are like right at the beginning of the state legislative session. And what I love about it is this deep dive. Like, we just did a half an hour on this subject of higher ed. We did a half an hour earlier on unions. And I feel we're just going to keep doing that during the session. Everyone's going to know everything they need to know to understand what's happening at the Capitol.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think that's going to be a neat format that we've set up. Our producer's done a great job, and we're going to have a lot more to say as we roll through the session. As you know, it moves very quickly up there. We mentioned this in an earlier segment. It can change on a dime and move very quickly.
But remember what you just said, that I am absolutely right.
I didn't say that. I actually said the opposite. Let's get a recording of this. All right. Thank you for listening to Inside Sources. Join Aaron Ryder and Taylor Morgan tomorrow from 1 to 3 p.m. for more political discussion analysis on Inside Sources. Next up, Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. 39 degrees. We have blue sky. KSL's top story. A school crossing guard was hit by a vehicle and killed this morning. This happened in Layton. KSL News Radio's Adam Small with the story.
This happened here at the intersection of 1600 North and Main Street, just east of Bayview Elementary, around 8:30 this morning. Layton Police Lieutenant Travis Lyman tells me the 67-year-old crossing guard was in the crosswalk when he was hit by a vehicle trying to drive north through the intersection.
It appears at this point that the crossing guard was doing things the way he'd been trained and was supposed to be working, and